Choice Scarf, Choice Spec set. Really don't know too much about it, this meta. It's got Icy Wind, it's got Will-O-Wisp, it's got some cool tools. Shadow Ball for Lunala, you know, good speed tier. So definitely devastating damage-wise, but a little on the frail side. So we'll see how he uses that to his advantage in this matchup. Probably won't see that much action since there's a lot of fire types, and you know, Groudon doesn't really mind other than getting burned. Venusaur could probably put it to sleep with Sleep Powder as well. Nick's game plan here, probably protect the Zern with some side of Groudon and Fire. Could be very useful in this matchup versus Kyogre. Just gotta have to keep the weather up for himself. But Gothitelle on Cedric's side, probably gonna help keep the rain up for his team, since Shadow Tag is a good ability. Very good ability. And you, of course, you got the also Xerneas, Amoonguss, Incineroar setup kind of thing also. So both players have a Xerneas mode. They have a different weather, of course, so we'll see which weather comes out on top, or if they even opt to go for it at all. That's something that players could choose to do, but I would expect Kyogre coming to this matchup. It seems pretty good against most of Nick's team, other than maybe the Venusaur and Xerneas. Clefairy on Nick's side, probably going to be one of the most important support members he brings, if he brings it at all. Definitely weak to Gengar, but, you know, can help a lot in mitigating that damage output. And with 3 seconds left to go, Nick's going to lock in. We're going to start our Game 1, Round 1, best of 3, 5-round tournament at Fort Wayne, Indiana. Alright, and Nick is going to lead Groudon, Venusaur. We're going to start with a Sun lead here, as Cedric going to lead Incineroar, Gothitelle. Kind of a slower, more reaction-type lead here. Now, he does have Fake Out open to him, so stopping Venusaur and breaking that Focus Sash if it has it, which they do tend to carry just to be able to run that max speed, max special attack build. Get the jump on a lot of non-fast Xerneas, which, you know, it's a really good idea, and why most Xerneas are probably faster this time around. As well as, you know, Sleep Powder, really good move. So we'll see how this turn 1 plays out. Groudon is going to be probably not liking a Kyogre switch-in if Cedric decides to switch for Kyogre. Definitely Incineroar could switch to that, but of course you do that, you're kind of losing that Fake Out opportunity, and you know, you are letting a Sleep Powder come off. So Fake Out coming out here, going to target Groudon actually, Sleep Powder, gonna come out, hit that Incineroar, so good night, Cat. Looks like you didn't sleep enough. Goth is gonna be able to do whatever it wants here, probably set up Trick Room if anything, and that's actually gonna be Psyshock, so gonna break that Sash on Venusaur if it has it. Well, we don't get to find out, but I'm gonna assume it's Sash for the sake of the stream here. It does a good amount, definitely knocking it down to where any attack will pick it up. And, you know, Groudon is poised to do some damage now, since he is not flinching anymore. Incineroar, though, hasn't burned any sleep turns, so definitely a little risky to try and switch right now. But he might just have to. Cedric might have to just do it. You know, commit. Hope Sleep Powder misses. Those are your outs. Alright, timer down. Gothitelle going to protect here, stop itself from going to sleep, probably. As, you know, no one switching or anything. Sleep Powder, targeting Incineroar, smart play on Nick's part, trying to catch a switch if Cedric decides to go for it. But Cedric just going to let Incineroar take the blades. Not very well. That's going to be a critical hit? No, it's not. It's just going to be that strong Precipice Blade, so not a defensively bulky Incineroar physical side, which of course many of them aren't anymore, and that Precipice Blades with the Life Orb boosting it up, gonna knock it straight out. This does let Cedric get another switch in, and that's gonna be that Kyogre, really good for Cedric right now. Of course, still have to watch out for Venusaur, but with that chunk damage, it's not looking like it will be able to do too much more this match, and Gothitelle being in means that neither of Nick's Pokemon can switch. His best option now is probably to protect Groudon and let Venusaur go down. Try to get off of Sleep Powder, maybe. You know, those kind of things. You got to take that trade. Get into your own Pokemon, possibly like Clefairy or Xerneas or Incineroar of your own, and then start trying to do some damage here. And I'm not sure what kind of Kyogre this is, but with Gothitelle on the team, I would assume it's more of a kind of a bulkier variant with maybe Mystic Water or Berry. Since, you know, you want to have that Trick Room option open, and you do have Xerneas for a fast mode. So I would not expect Kyogre to be Scarf here. Helping Hand, gonna come out for Gothitelle. Clap, clap. Of course, Groudon, gonna protect. Doesn't want to get knocked out just yet. And the Water Spout coming out. So faster than Venusaur outside of Sun. So I mean, maybe it is a Scarf set. I have no idea. Or maybe it's just timid max speed Kyogre. Who really knows? But that's going to be knocked out Venusaur, letting Nick get in his own Pokemon. Possibly that Incineroar, possibly a Xerneas. Really don't know yet. But it's not looking good for Nick at this current moment. It's going to be Incineroar, yep. Going to apply that fake out pressure. Make sure Kyogre doesn't move this turn. And getting the Intimidate drop. No competitive Gothitelle here. I'm sure Nick has already tried to switch, so he knows it's safe to just bring in Incineroar. No competitive Goths here. And, you know, Fake Out, really strong tool, makes Incineroar one of the greatest Pokemon in the format, of course, along with that typing and bulk. So, I would expect Nick to be able to get off another Precipice Blades, or possibly some other kind of move here. But, I mean, Mugus is going to come in here in the rain. It's really not that threatened by -1 attacks Groudon. And Gothitelle just going to protect, not going to take damage here. And, you know, I think Nick is really struggling to kind of deal damage to this Gothitelle since, you know, it's got that Shadow Tag. And Red Card going to force Incineroar out. Maybe that's not what Cedric needed right now. But then again, you know, Xerneas in front of Amoonguss is usually a pretty good matchup for the Amoonguss player. You got a lot of tools to kind of mess with Xerneas' head here. Clear Smog, Spore, Rage Powder, all important tools. Precipice Blade is going to go off into Amoonguss, take it down to about half. So, I mean, another Precipice Blade will definitely knock it out. Of course, you just have to hit the Precipice Blade in the first place. And, you know, that could be a free Geomancy opportunity for Xerneas. Gothitelle might be able to use Trick Room to kind of reverse that deal. But seeing as the Kyogre was a bit of a faster Kyogre, might not be the greatest idea since, you know, Groudon's still doing damage even at -1 attack here. These things are kind of what goes through my head when I see this matchup right now. Xerneas definitely poised to take that Geomancy though. As long as Nick does not miss Precipice Blades on Amoonguss, avoids the Clear Smog, could be good. But no, Nick's just going to opt for Moonblast damage onto Gothitelle. Decides the trap is not what he needs right now. Going to get a special attack drop. Not that important. As Precipice Blades comes out, picks up knockout on Amoonguss for sure. And barely leaves Gothitelle alive. That critical hit on Amoonguss, really not that necessary, but needed on the Gothitelle. Thunder Wave coming out, going to paralyze Xerneas. And you know, a paralyzed deer is one that can't run. So here comes Kyogre coming back in, still locked again in this rain. It's just really hard to deal with this Shadow Tag right now. And it's kind of looking like curtains. Since Kyogre's still at full health, Helping Hand available to Gothitelle. So maybe it is this Choice Scarf set. But regardless, as long as it outspeeds Groudon here, Cedric should have this game kind of locked up. There's not much I can anticipate from Nick, other than maybe like surviving the Helping Hand Water Spout and then firing off a Moonblast into Kyogre, or maybe getting off Geomancy. It's pretty slim, but I mean, it might happen. Alright, Nick has locked in his move. It's up to Cedric now to lock in his move. And Gothitelle going for that Helping Hand one more time. Gonna make sure Water Spout deals the most amount of damage possible here. As Groudon going for another Protect. Just going to let Xerneas eat the Spout. Oh, but it's actually going to be Scald, so really interesting to use Scald instead. It still takes a knockout on Xerneas, so I mean, maybe it's a choice spec set, who knows. In rain, though, with Helping Hand boost, he would have to be a pretty bulky Xerneas to take it in the first place, so I really don't know my calculations on that one. But Incineroar back in, gets that Fake Out opportunity, allows Groudon a free damage opportunity, and Cedric may be accounting for that. Didn't go for the Water Spout so he could have that guaranteed 80 base power single target Scald later in the game. And, you know, this is a pretty sketchy situation, especially if Kyogre can't protect itself. Because it's just going to have to take this damage. And there's nothing else Cedric can really do about that, other than maybe hope for a Precipice Blades miss, get a heal pulse off. But no, he's not going to risk it. Just going to protect. Safe play. and Kyogre just gonna have to eat the fake out. Here comes Precipice Blades. Does it connect? And it does. So this is gonna do a good chunk of damage to Kyogre. Gonna be a 2-hit KO. And you know, Rain's gonna stop, but I'm not sure how much that'll matter since Groudon seems to be the threat here. It's gonna come down to a read on Cedric's side. Incineroar most likely cannot use Protect, but of course Groudon can, so Kyogre's gonna have to choose his target very carefully this turn. Even if it chooses correctly, it may still end up being in a losing position. I think one knockoff from Incineroar will take it out. And you know, what looked like to be a good positioning on Cedric's side turned out to be kind of a detriment when he had to take out KOs and leave Groudon sitting there. So, you know, don't sleep on Groudon, even in front of Kyogre in rain, trapped in. So, these kind of things, they're both top players, so, but Nick's going to come out probably on the upper end here, barring maybe a Precipice Blades miss. So, Cedric's thinking really hard about what he wants to do. Groudon is going to go for the Protect. Very interesting. Nick's going to make the hard read here. Scald going into that Protect, so making the read, paying off in the end. Thunder Wave going to come out and paralyze Incineroar. Let's see if the full paralysis saves Cedric's Kyogre. It does not. Here's the knockoff. Going to go into Kyogre and pick up knockout. So with that knockout, low health Gothitelle is not going to be enough to take on these two brutes. We do see the Choice Scarf, so it is a Choice Scarf variant Kyogre. Very interesting choice, but after revealing Scald and Water Spout and having to switch, I think it makes sense from a viewer standpoint as well. Alright, so Cedric's going to have to rethink his strategy here. Maybe something was not played that well in the last turn. I think it was still okay for him to win, especially if he had targeted that Incineroar, taking advantage of that Protect turn. But, you know, hard call to make. I think Nick's best play was to just attack with both of his Pokemon, but he made the play he did, and he ended up on the right side of it. So we'll go into Game 2. Nick up 1 game in what seems like a pretty matchup, but maybe he's a little more experienced. They played each other, maybe, or maybe they theoried about it since, you know, they were both in cut yesterday, so they'd have to think about what to do when they play each other, if that happened at all. No Gengar, though I'd like to see it come in since it seemed to be a pretty decent Pokemon to choose if you can Sludge Bomb a bunch of stuff, Shadow Ball, maybe even throw out some Will-O-Wisps on Groudon, since Groudon really seemed to be the problem for Cedric. He couldn't knock it out. Nick protected it really well, even with his Incineroar and Venusaur, which, you know, they typically don't like rain, but they still pulled it out, yeah. So Xerneas on Nick's side didn't end up doing that much either, just doing damage to Gothitelle, so maybe he'll swap that Xerneas out for a more supportive Mon and Clefairy, or maybe use Heatran, though I can't imagine Heatran coming if rain will be up for most of the game. Moogs didn't get to do anything, got switched in and proceeded to get 2-hit KO'd by Precipice Blades, so hopefully Cedric can play around with his switch-ins a little better this time. Maybe letting his Incineroar go to sleep and then fainting immediately to Precipice Blades wasn't the greatest call there, but I'll leave it up to the players here. And Cedric is locked in. I think he's ready. He's made some adjustments. Gonna play a little differently this time. Nick gonna take the whole time to think. And we're gonna get right into it. Alright, and Cedric gonna lead the same Pokemon, Incineroar and Gothitelle. Maybe changing the game plan, maybe gonna fake out Venusaur this time. We'll see, but I don't know, he might not be able to afford this Precipice Blades to knock out Incineroar one more time. So we're gonna see what exactly Cedric chooses to do here. As Intimidate goes off once more, gonna negate some of that Life Orb boost. And, you know, Sleep Powder open again to start putting stuff to sleep. Sun's bright, but it's early, so I'm sure most Pokemon are sleepy by this point. Alright, thanks for the follow. Alright, Nick is locked in. Fake out, going to come in onto the Groudon one more time. And Sleep Powder going to miss this time, so really nice for Cedric to have that dodge. Basically the same turn playing out, except Sleep Powder not connecting this time. Even the same roll on Psyshock, so that's information that Nick will know, but I mean Cedric will not know. And let's see. This is interesting, because even though Incineroar didn't get put to sleep, it's almost the same position anyway, and Cedric will have to risk a switch into a Sleep Powder to be able to do that. And otherwise, he's just going to lose Incineroar again. And that might be one of the plays he wants. Dodging Precious Blade, dodging Sleep Powder, those are some outs he has. Sleep Powder is going to drop on Incineroar. May not matter if Precious Blade knocks out here. And Precious Blade does come out for Groudon. And does it connect? It does, so that Incineroar is going to not even take one turn of sleep, just going to go bye-bye. And that allows Cedric a free switch into that Kyogre, presumably. Or maybe it could be something else. But I would expect Kyogre to be coming in here, as with that Choice Scarf Water Spout, it can exert a lot of pressure. And you know, I think Cedric, even though the matchup looks great right now, you know, Protect always an option, and Nick can just let Venusaur take the get KO'd and get Incineroar in for a fake out cycle. And those kinds of plays, even though Nick is trading, he is on the winning side of those trades. And Cedric's going to have to figure out how to deal with Venusaur at this point in time. If he leaves it on the field, could throw out a Sleep Powder and completely throw the game away. Or you could knock it out, get Incineroar in, maybe put yourself in a position later in the game to take it a better position to have that kind of being available to him. Gothitelle here, we've seen most of his moves, Thunder Wave, Helping Hand, Protect. I would assume the last one is Heal Pulse, so I haven't seen Trick Room, and I don't think Trick Room's coming out for a Choice Scarf Kyogre. We do see the Amoonguss switch in, so really interesting. I think Cedric has made an adjustment here. It's going to soak up that Sleep Powder. But no, it's going to be the Grass Knot. Still though, with a 4x resist, it's going to do probably like 3 damage. And it's going to red card out the Venusaur into Incineroar. So this may be what Cedric was looking for here, as now that he has both of those fire types locked into the game, Psyshock gonna not hit at all. Okay, so it is Psyshock, sorry about that. So no Trick Room, no Heal Pulse. But Gothitelle Psyshock whiffing into Incineroar. That's gonna be a dead turn. I would have liked to see something like a Thunder Wave come out there, but I mean, if he switched and Venusaur didn't attack Amoonguss, would have picked up the KO. So I think it was a solid play on Cedric's part there. It just didn't work out since Grass Knot ended up coming out instead of Sleep Powder. And great play on Nick's part to kind of take advantage of that, knowing that red card might be in the back, or just getting damage onto Kyogre. Precious Blade's going to come out, going to do a lot of damage to Amoonguss. And Amoonguss not going to Rage Powder or anything, just going to take that damage. And about 50% of his health. Here's the U-turn, going to hit Amoonguss and go back into a Pokemon of Nick's choice. So we're going to see what Pokemon Nick chooses to use. I would say probably Venusaur. It seems to be in a pretty good position here. As he comes back in, Spore goes off into the Groudon. So now it's Groudon's turn to sleep. Maybe the rain's making him a little tired. But Venusaur being trapped in here is not that great, honestly. There's a lot of risk involved with trying to Sleep Powder the Amoonguss slot, which I'm not sure if Nick can afford to take. He is up a game, but I'm not sure that really justifies Sleep Powdering Amoonguss slot. It does look a lot like it wants to switch. It wants to get that Regenerator back. It wants to get Kyogre in on Groudon sleep turns. It just really wants to get out of here. But having to switch and taking a Sleep Powder, that might be too much of a risk for Cedric to take. So he might just stay in with Amoonguss, try to do some Grass Knot damage if he has it. Pick up a knockout on Groudon, which would be really important. Since Groudon did seem to be that big hitter, but of course Sludge Bomb coming into Amoonguss could knock it out as well. Venusaur doesn't take names when he's throwing out Sludge Bombs, alright? Gothitelle's still looking healthy, but again, it doesn't offer that much offensive presence, so Really have to wonder what its job is here. We see the Sludge Bomb go ahead and hit Amoonguss. It's going to be enough for that knockout. Not quite. So clutch spreads here. Gothitelle is going to be able to pick up the knockout on Venusaur. And Groudon's going to drop to Grass Knot, I assume. Cedric, if Cedric does not have Grass Knot, then he's good. But Grass Knot comes out, and it's going to do a massive amount. Picking up the knockout, which means Nick down to his last two Pokemon, which of course are the Incineroar and probably Xerneas. Now this is a good option for opportunity for Xerneas to set up, and you know, even with Scarf Kyogre in the back, I'm not really sure that Cedric can afford to let that Geomancy go up. Of course, with Thunder Wave on Gothitelle, this is one of those prime opportunities to get Thunder Wave or Spore down onto that Xerneas, and I would say that out of the two, Thunder Wave is the more crippling, since it does put it back to being slower than the Kyogre, and with Rain going away in a couple turns here, excuse me, that speed advantage for Kyogre, as well as the 25% paralysis chance, those things could be one way for Cedric to bring it back to Game 3. Of course, if you let Amoonguss survive this turn, Spore is going to hit something. That's just the rule. But Fake Out will knock it out right now. It is kind of sitting there. But Gothitelle here threatening that Thunder Wave, really, really threatening. So Nick's going to have to pick really carefully about what he wants to do with Xerneas. And Amoonguss is actually going to switch, so switch here for Amoonguss. Going to bring in Kyogre. Maybe take the Fake Out, but if Nick decided to just go for an attack, no Fake Out here, as Geomancy does go off, putting that Deer speeding way over the speed limit. It's boosted and ready to take some names. So we'll see what Gothitelle decides to do here. But I think Nick has adjusted for that Kyogre switch in, and we might see a knockoff into that Choice Scarf Kyogre, and then it'll be back to being slower than the Xerneas. So we'll see, as knockoff does go into Kyogre. So really unfortunate for Cedric. This might be a game killer. I think he was expecting to kind of get it in for free, as Fake Out was kind of expected there. But instead he kind of got in, lost his Choice Scarf, lost the speed advantage one more time, and now he's going to have to rely on those 25% paralysis chances to get him through this game. As well as dealing with +2 special defense Xerneas, which is going to have to take a few hits, barring any critical hits. This is looking pretty sketchy. Moonblast just going to come out and target down that Kyogre, so this game is looking pretty much sealed up. I don't think there's much Cedric can do with the rest of his Pokemon, Gothitelle and Amoonguss here, to really stop Xerneas from running him over, as well as a knockoff firing into that Gothitelle. Gonna pick up a lot of damage, knock off the safety goggles, so we get to see more of Cedric's sets here. But, you know, with boosted Deer and Incineroar facing down two very low health support Pokemon, I think Cedric will have to throw in the towel for this round and try to win it back in the next 4 rounds of gameplay. Good job to Nick for playing to his outs, and I think Cedric adjusted very well for Game 2. It was just that, you know, some of those adjustments Nick also adjusted for, so you got to be really careful when playing high level here. And that was the forfeit. Congrats to Nick Navarre, winning round 1, and they'll both be moving on to round 2. Hopefully we can see both in cut, just like yesterday.